Hi, and welcome to the show Mastered. This is where we try to uncover which choices really successful people made that literally helped them achieve the success they've had. Now, we try to do that because we want to make sure that you are able to A, replicate it, or copy it, or just do better. Today's show is brought to you in collab with Four Seasons Weddings, your your international wedding planner. And in today's show, we are meeting a guy named Sunny Singh, and he's from Australia. I'm your host, Arvid, and welcome. Yes, welcome. Uh, it's really nice to see you. How are you? Are you having a good day?
I've had a good day, Arvid. It's 7 p.m. now, so I've had a very good day. So I think whilst you're starting the day, I'm kind of finishing my day. But it's been a very good day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe you can give us a short introduction of who you are.
Yeah, sure. So I probably
Mm,
started my career, believe it or not, as a hotel manager. So
okay.
I went to like a Swiss hotel management school in Australia,
Mm,
and I worked in industry for a while and had a lot of good experiences. I worked around Australia, in the islands as well in Australia, and I kind of got to a stage where I wanted to get into business for my own. So I bought into franchising. So I bought a coffee franchise within an area of Sydney, and it was
mm,
a brand new franchise in a brand new shopping center. So a lot of nuances, a lot of complexities, a lot of challenges. The first year was a really really tough one. We were dangerously close to being insolvent a couple of times. Just the traffic flow wasn't quite there. In a space of 35 shops, I think about 6 had actually shut up shop within the first 12 months. So it would tell you what, it was an interesting time.
uh,
We ended up trading our way out of it eventually with a few interesting strategies and approaches to marketing and sales. And then I ended up selling it after about 4.5, 5 years.
yeah, but you
Yeah.
got out.
I got
You got
out.
out with money.
I got out with a bit of money. A lot of battle scars. I tell you what, a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
battle scars, but a lot of lessons. And
Mm,
the lessons I learned, God, I take them to this very day. And the biggest
mm,
lesson I kind of got from that is, whatever you do in life, you act like you got skin in the game. So
mm,
whatever it is, act like you got skin in the game, meaning whatever you do, you are accountable to it, and you have ownership about everything you possibly do, and you're doing it for the right reasons. So I had a very fruitful experience, very difficult certain times, good at certain times, but I learned a lot from that experience. Um, at that stage, I kind of took about 6 months off, and I was pretty tired. I was working about probably working about 80 hours a week, or 80 to 90 hours a week, like silly hours. And so I took about 6 months off.
Just on that, have you seen that major trend running around on TikTok and Instagram and everything? The 996 trend? The idea that you work 9 to 9, 6 days a week. Would you adhere to that? Do you think that's essential to be successful?
No, I
Me
no.
neither.
I think I think it kind of borders on this whole hustle culture, and I'm not a
Yeah.
fan of hustle culture. I don't think it's about hustling. Yeah, I don't think
No,
that's
me
what we're
neither.
here to do.
I had this. I'm not going to call it a brainwave, but I just figured out that if you do the well, if I started a company to sell homepages, yeah, obviously 996 it makes sense because if you do outwork your competition, well, it's just a fair chance that you might get ahead. I'd rather have a good idea, something
What
different.
if you had a good idea? What would you do? What is it that you would do differently about it, though? If you've got a new idea,
uh, I think that any good business requires one thing, and that's to understand whether it's a real life need or not. in my experience, it's like if people really need something, it's because they haven't realized that they need it. So it's going to be a tough sale. It's like I always say, and I do some talks every once in a while. I will say that if you came to a Neanderthal with a lighter, now obviously there's a definitive need that will make or break their life. He's probably going to stick around with the stones and the flints. He's probably not going to start using the lighter because he has no frame of reference to start using that. So for me, a great business idea is to understand the need and see that the need is there. It's kind of like do something that people already do, just a little better.
Yeah.
Don't do the massive steps. It's like I'll teach you a way to pray, just a little more efficient. You don't
Yeah.
have to do 20 Ave Maries. You can do this one instead,
If you
and
can
that's gonna
say
work.
them if you can say to me that time or
Mm,
money, I think they're your 2 little key parameters, time and or money. I think, you're generally are on a winner. I think a lot of people talk about these boring businesses like laundromats,
mm,
like dry cleaning businesses, like pretty unsexy. They're pretty boring. However, everybody needs them. They're
mm,
staples. I think they'll always do well, provided your rent isn't astronomical and you're in a good location. There's other factors you got to factor in, but you'll always get people coming in because you need to get your clothes laundered. You need to clean your clothes, particularly if you're in a university area where people don't have, washing machines inside their
mm.
apartments. Totally, totally.
And and that's where the 996 makes sense to me. Because if there's two competing laundromats and you outwork your competition, well, it's gonna probably bring you some success.
Can I can
Okay,
I can I
so
just quickly throw one
yeah,
quick element into that? This is
yeah,
a curly one. I think the element of luck, I think that can be never underestimated, the power of
no,
luck. Right
mm,
place, right time, right
mm,
person. Are you the right
mm,
person? Because obviously we evolve in life. We kind of grow into who we need to be to do
yeah,
X in life. So I think there's a couple other nuances, and a lot of this is beyond our control. It kind of evolves as we grow older in life. So I'll throw
mm.
that out as a curly one. So there's no
I
answer on that
completely
one.
agree. No, no, no.
Mm,
By the way,
mm.
I completely agree with you. I'd say that if you start a great big hotel franchise, uh, I'll throw the curveball and say, okay, if I didn't start it or you didn't start it, well, someone else was going to start it, getting it started because people are going to need hotel rooms. And all that takes might be that, you just have a little bit of luck securing your first lease. And then you have a little bit of luck meeting the perfect marketing manager. You know, things that you definitely can't plan for.
Sure.
It's not possible because the luck in the lease was just that a guy got divorced and they needed to, up sticks and fuck off. And that was the same day
Yeah, and you
as
got a
you
good
got
deal.
your money from the bank. And okay, well, let's go. I just say 20%. That's cool. So I'm going to use that. And I like this guy, or that girl. She's great at marketing, and they are obviously free right now because they just moved it because they broke off with their girlfriend or something. There's a lot of luck involved. In Norway, we've had an explosive development in real
Mhm.
estate since early 90s. And obviously, the people that got into real estate and bought apartments, apartment buildings, and stuff like that in the early 90s, they have had a couple of thousands% return on
Wow.
invest since that. But it was luck.
Yeah.
It's like no one can foresee that the market was going to, just keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. And everyone in the financial sector say, okay, at some point it's going to stop. Well, it didn't. It just kept going. Uh, I would love for young people getting out there, starting up. being entrepreneurs, realizing that there's no justice in business. It's not like if you just keep grinding and working and grinding and working, you're going to end up being a millionaire, because you're not. Most people don't. That's the sad fact. Or do you agree? Or yeah?
I think business is unforgiving,
Yeah.
absolutely unforgiving, and you either make it or you don't make it. And most people don't make it, and that's unfortunately the law of averages. But that doesn't
Mm,
mean you don't go into it and give it your biggest. In Australia, we say give it a
mm,
crack, which basically means
yeah.
give it everything you've got. That
Mm,
doesn't mean you don't do it. I guess, but I have this theory, or this feeling about when you've got something that you want to do in life, and it might be really deep seated, it might come from within, that you really want to do it, and you're really passionate and driven to do it. You've got to want it so much that you'll be prepared not to have it. And that sounds counterintuitive, but if you're prepared not to have it, it means if you don't get it, which sometimes can happen, you won't be destroyed. You've just got to have that awareness about yourself. Give it everything you've got, but put a bit of distance between you and the end result, because you're not defined by that end result. You are defined by how much effort you put into it and how much you
mm.
turn up to do whatever it is you're doing.
No, that makes perfect sense. And at some point in your career, you decided to do a newsletter, which I found on Substack. Can
Thank
you
you.
tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. So it's
Yeah.
called impact influence. So this
Mm,
newsletter is all about three words: sales, influence, and persuasion. It kind of borders on a little bit of sales, leadership, as well as a bit of mindset. I think those three
mm,
elements are very much interwoven in terms of how we get our message out there. It all probably
mm,
starts with the sorts of messaging that we're giving ourselves and what sort of conversations we're having between our ears, our head, the level of, I don't want to say the word positivity, but just the narrative. What's that loop? What's that cycle that keeps going on in our head? And it could be a really good loop. It could be a terrible loop. It could be a lousy loop that's actually doing us more harm than good. So
mm,
it's about understanding yourself, your pros, your cons, what you do extremely well at, and what maybe you don't do well at. What are your blind spots? Understanding what sort of behavior you are and how to relate to people. If you understand yourself and you understand people, it's about how we build that bridge between me and the other person.
mm,
And in a sales context, that's all about having conversations, not selling, but having consultative conversations, which are disarming, which are relaxed, which are conversational, which are about the prospect getting what they want from the interaction. And if that the best result is not to do business, then that is a good result. It
mm.
may mean you don't get to sale. That's okay, but you might get a referral from that prospect. So if you can approach sales in that sort of manner whereby you're not attached to the outcome, you don't live and die by whether or not you get that signature. You're there to turn up, to converse, to relate, to have conversations from the heart and be curious. Have
Mm.
curious conversations to understand what's going on. And sometimes customers or prospects think they know what they want, but maybe they don't. So it's about understanding a few more questions to go a little deeper and understand what's the why behind the why. And if you can have a prospect leave you up in an interaction and them telling you something that they don't normally tell other people, I think
Mm.
you've gone a long way in that relationship. If you can get them to open up something that they don't normally offer up, gee, you've gone a long way in that relationship.
This is interesting. There's so many theories here I'm picking up on. Uh, let's start with the first one. You were talking about the way I heard it about comfort zones and how you can actually have a comfort zone where things are really bad for you. Is that something you were like in? Okay, you have you are doing things that not really working, but you've been doing for so long, such a long time that it's comfortable. This is
Yeah.
where I'm satisfied. How would you advise anyone to, I don't know, break out of bad habits? Because I think there's a lot of bad habits going around when it comes to sales.
Yeah, I agree. I guess it's about understanding what the impact of that bad habit is
Mm,
upon themselves and the customer or the prospect. Because
mm,
the salesperson may not know what sort of impact this bad habit is having. So what's the impact of this habit? What's the impact of not having this habit? So kind of reframing the conversation and the narrative, understanding because effectively are asking the
yeah,
same question, but you're using different words and a different narrative to help the person go a little bit deeper um,
mm,
into understanding why they do what they do and the advantages of breaking it out. If you can change a habit in small amounts over a protracted period of time, I think these little small improvements, I think, will have a compounding effect as well. To go from 0 to 50 overnight is very, very difficult, as we know. But if you can
mm,
change your habits slightly just to reflect the desired change and you equate that to a desired result, then
mm.
I think it's an effective tool just to try and do that slowly and make these incremental changes every day. It's like that expression, it's the 1% changes you make every day. It's just that, and
Mm.
you culminate all those together, they compound to a high degree later on.
That's one of the other modern theories in personal development. How would you go about preparing yourself when meeting a new potential lead or client for the first time?
Um, I think I've got to prepare myself in
Mm,
terms of what's mentally going on upstairs. Because I mean, let's face it, life
yeah,
is busy. Life is tough. I won't say it's challenging. It's tough. All right. Let's just be very real about it, right? It can be really tough sometimes, right? But it
yeah,
is what it is, right? And it's
mm,
just about how we kind of front up and just keep going. So whatever's going on in your self dialogue, your self narrative, um, kind of try and park that to the side. Um, I try and concentrate on the moment, so being as present as I possibly can with my words and my intention. So before I go in, I'll set an intention. This is the intention that I like to be, and whether that's to connect with the person, whether that's to engage them, just a couple of words, maybe two words that are going to be in the forefront of my mind. This is what I want to resonate in the
mm,
conversation. And fundamentally, the number one thing is I wanna try and disarm them. So
okay,
just with my language, my
yeah,
narrative, and the way I come across. I've had
body
situations
language,
body language. I've had
yeah,
situations where I have come across a prospect, and I'm an extrovert sort of guy, right? As
mm,
you may notice. I went in high extroversion, this person was an absolute introvert, and immediately went, "Oh, gee, I messed that one up. Gee, I
mm,
fucked that one up," because that's not what it's all about. So kinda just step back a little bit and go and just really retreat back into my shell somewhat.
yeah,
Um and allow this person to be in his space. And it takes a
mm,
little bit of time, right, to try and reestablish that little status quo. But it's important that I note it. If I can do a little bit of research on the individual first, if they're on
mm,
socials, get an idea of where they sit on a disc perspective, like direct disc as a
yeah,
behavioral profiling tool,
yeah,
just kind of where they sit in there. And I've got to try and match that behavioral style, not in overt forced manner, but perhaps in a gentle way, which is reflective of that individual. So if they are
mm.
an introverted feeler, slow down a little bit.
Is there any particular way you approach the questions you want to ask? Do you use any profiling? I
Yeah,
see you nodding.
yeah,
There's not everyone that's someone is watching, someone is listening. So I'm just going to say, I see you nodding just to
yeah,
make
yeah,
sure that
yeah, yeah.
everyone is okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Um, I I I think fundamentally we're all feelers at the end of the day. I think
Mm,
some behavioral profiles are more feelers, and I get that. Like if you're a D,
mm,
like a direct, or an
yeah.
R, no, sorry, a C compliance, you may not be a feeler. But I think we are. What do we say? We are. Emotional beings having a physical experience. I think that's the phrase. So we
Oh,
are
yeah.
we are feelers in life. So
Yeah.
I'd like to understand. I'm I like to use very non-confrontational language, such as the word curious. I think the
Mm.
word curious is a very unoffensive thing to
It
say.
is.
So I'm just kind of curious, and I'll say I'm kinda, like, as
Uh,
if like I'm not
mm.
curious. I'm kind of curious. Um, what do you think might be behind that?
You're not
And
putting them on the spot.
that's right.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not saying why do you
No.
do that. It's saying I'm just kind of curious. What might be behind that? Just chill them out.
I always gotta listen, numbnuts. Why are you doing?
Yeah, come on, harden up,
Sorry. Yeah,
toughen up,
yeah.
princess. Come on. Yeah.
You are. I don't know if you're familiar with the Challenger sales. Do you identify yourself with one distinct personality, or are you someone that kind of tries to play all the different personalities, from the hard worker to the relationship builder to the lone wolf to the challenger to the upsale specialist? Where do you see yourself in such a pyramid?
I started off when I did behavioral profiling. When I started to look
Mm,
to this, I probably started off as a feeler,
mm,
like an introverted feeler. That's where I started off. So
mm,
then I kind of moved into extroversion, and came as an extroverted feeler. And I moved into being quite direct. So I'm quite
mm,
lone wolf-ish, if that is
mm.
a word.
Yeah,
A little bit of lone
yeah.
wolf. I have an element of lone wolf in me.
Mm,
But I can connect with people. That's perhaps one of my touchwood. It's one of the things that
mm,
I'm able to do. I can connect with most people, find that commonality. I try and look for something that is going to bond myself and that other person, whatever it is. But I know I need to do it in a non-forced way, like a genuine, sincere way. So
mm.
if I see something on the wall and it's a picture of a Porsche 911, I've kind of just you just can't blurt it out, right? Oh, so you like 911s. That's not going to work. Funny story, very, very quick funny
Yeah.
story. It just didn't work, which is, I think you learn more from your hacks than you do from your successes in life. I was working in pharma once, and I saw this doctor, and it was in the rural parts of Australia, and he was wearing like these cowboy boots, right? And I
Mm,
walked in, and first thing, and he had a medical student with him as well. I said to him, I said, I really like your cowboy boots, right? They're really quite cool. Like, where'd you get those from, right? And it was a genuine question, right? He looked at me and then looked at the medical student and says, see what he's doing? He's trying to build rapport, right? That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to build rapport. And I went, oh my God, I purely just stuffed it up like it was an absolute cock up.
yeah.
But I didn't mean to be, but it just came
No.
out of the cock up. So, I kind of note to myself, you really got to pick your targets a little bit better, and just got to be a little bit more subtle in terms of how you come across.
No, but it makes sense. I do get what he thought, and I do get, but I also could have come with the same question. He had a nice pair of boots.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's just that. It's not like
maybe.
I'm
Yeah,
not. Yeah, okay.
yeah.
No,
That is.
that's okay. So let's bring this back to not necessarily the newsletter, but who has been your inspiration? Is there any books or people or theories or anything out there that you kind of feel that, well, this makes sense for me? I want to. Okay, I'm reading this and this talks to me.
I think fundamentally we're all on a bit of a journey in life. I think
Mm,
we're all doing something in life, and everyone's got a different journey. We kind of incarnate, and person's journey is to do this, or that person's journey is to do that. I think to grow, is
mm,
probably one of my biggest things I think of every day, and just to grow as an individual, just to be closer to who I am supposed to be. And the analogy I use is I want to be able to fit into my glove. So here's my
mm,
hand, there's my glove. I want to be able to fit into my glove like it absolutely fits. Um, I guess that's all about living in alignment with what's really important to me. And that
mm,
changes, I think, as the stages of my life has gone through, because your priorities changes, your values kind of change, and your alignment kind of changes. So that's kind of the philosophy that I've been
mm,
approaching, and a couple of the authors that I've kind of read. I think um, Robin Sharma wrote a very, very book called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I think it's called that. That was many years ago I read this
Love
book. It's
it.
a
No, but
have you
yeah,
have you yeah, I'm not sure if you've come across that, but it's
not
quite a good
yet.
good book that got me started on this kind of journey.
I'm definitely picking it up, if not for nothing else than the title.
The
The
Monk
Monk
Who
Who Sold His Ferrari. Yeah.
Sold his Ferrari, something like
Yeah,
that.
something.
It's a very good book. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, but that makes sense. I'm just trying to uncover, when people have a lot of experience, obviously as you do, and you came to the point where you started to write a newsletter. Obviously felt you had something to put out there to help others getting started. Um,
Yeah.
and in general, my experience at least is that these people have some inspirational people around them somewhere. What was it that made you decide that, okay, I want to do this newsletter? Because, okay, what was your motivation?
I mean, I've touch wood, I've always kind of done okay, in a sales, influence, and persuasion capacity. I've got a lot of knowledge, ideas, and philosophies and ways of approaching life in my head, and I've been working on a lot of self-development for a long time now. I just wanted to synthesize this and put it down on
Mm,
paper. I also record it on my YouTube channel as well. Just kind of whatever's in my head, synthesize it on paper and be able to
mm,
get it out there in the world. I guess I want to be able to. I don't know if I want to leave a legacy. I don't think it's about leaving a legacy. If I can help the lives of other people around me, in a very selfless way, it's not about I'm going to get something in return, but if I can help them in a way that will impact their business, their lives, personally and professionally, then I'm doing something good, for this world. And if I can leave the world a slightly better place than what it was before I arrived, hell, that's a good thing.
That's the perfect motivation. That's the perfect motivation.
Mm.
So we've been talking for half an hour now. Time flies.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it ever? Doesn't it ever?
Yeah. Is there anything else you think we should touch up on before we call it quits?
Um, Probably.
Is there any good advice you would give to young and up and coming entrepreneurs, professionals? I can tell that we are trying to build this podcast for everyone somewhat educated. Education is not a requirement,
Yeah.
obviously, but people that wants to develop themselves and develop their personal and professional skills going forward. If there's one advice you, Sonny, can give to these people, what would it be?
Have self-awareness of yourself. Have an
Mm,
acute level of or develop, build an acute level of self-awareness of yourself. Don't bullshit yourself. Really understand yourself. What are your blind spots? What do you do well? What do you not do well? Um, and hone in on the stuff that you do really well. Like, do
mm,
more of that. I'm not saying forget about the stuff that perhaps is your blind spot. If you can spend your life, if you're a software developer and you've got an idea for a business, do the software developing stuff. If you have to outsource a sale or you have a partner that does the sales, great. But if you stick to your core elements, you'll cease to have competition. So develop who you
mm.
are, and it feels less like work.
That is great advice. Can I entice you to maybe come back sometime?
I would love to come back. Anything
Perfect.
for you, Arvid. Anything.
No, but that's great, Sonny. I think that's the perfect note to stop the recording. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to today's show, and thank you so much to Sonny for participating. Now, if you like the show, please hit like, whether it's on Spotify or Amazon or wherever you are listening from. If you don't like the show, well, thank you for listening anyway. And please do reach out and tell me what you think we can do better. So for now, until next time, have a great day and week. Thank you so much.